When you begin to transition and you are growing in your journey, you have to be aware of the people who are accustomed to the lower version of you. When people are accustomed to the lower version of you, they won't allow you room to grow. And this is often because they don't have space even for themselves to grow. How so there's no way a person can really embrace you growing into this new version. Imagine you trying to go transition from a caterpillar to a butterfly with a person that is comfortable and complacent being a caterpillar. It's going to seem like you just doing too much. You want too much. You want to go too far. And so that's why we have to have wisdom as to what connections are meant to pour into us for a season and vice versa. But anytime you try to take a seasonal connection into a lifetime journey, that's when you start to experience a lot of friction. And I think that's one of the signs when something has run its course with a person is that there's no longer a space for you to grow. The capacity is maxed out, and a person will begin to be offended by the changes that you want to embrace and the things that you want to do or not do. It's because they don't have room for their own growth. So, how could they ever have room for yours? And so, you have to be able to let go of the connections that you taken a liking to, because when you're a person that you enjoy connection and you might feel connected to someone, you got to know that when that connection has run its course, and sometimes it can be hurtful when you love someone so dearly, but you can just hear in their conversation they're not interested in growing, nor have they grown at all. From sometimes you hadn't spoken to them in a while, there is no growth in their conversation. There is no elevation in their way of thinking, and so the only way you can dwell with that person is for you to stay stagnant, for you to stay where you are. And a lot of the time, it's going to cost you way too much to remain the same than it will cost them. There's the fork in the road, and you just have to move in a different direction. And I think that when you make that type of transition to glorify God, to become the version that God created you to be, I know that God will mend that broken feeling that you may feel, that feeling of despair and having to disconnect. I'm reminded of when Abraham had to leave Lot, and that was his nephew. And so there had to have been some level of connection there. To a certain extent, it probably did grieve him, but he had to stay the course. He had to continue on the journey that God had for him. And that's when you begin to walk with the Lord, when you really choose God, all the people in your life will begin to fall in their place when you choose God. And so a lot of the time, you don't really have to say goodbye to people. Sometimes it'll be set up where they'll say goodbye to you because the journey has just run its course. But either way, embrace what God has for you, and God will take care of the rest. I hope that makes sense.